These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another How About Them Celtics video. Sam and I are here recording Sunday, March 10th. A reminder, as we do at the start of every video, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the How About Them Celtics channel, and comment what's popping down below for a chance to win a $10 In Pupito gift card. We appreciate you. Leave that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jaylen Brown has been playing very well lately. He just won Player of the Week, his first Player of the Week of the season. Over his last 10 games, I'll share my screen here so you guys can see it on your screen if you'd like to read it as well. In his last 10 games, 27.1 points, 5.6 rebounds, 3.6 assists, only 1.8 turnovers, shooting 52.8% from the field and 39.7% from deep on just under 20 shot attempts per game and around 6.5 threes a game. Playing great basketball. We can ignore the free throw percentage because we're talking positive about Jaylen Brown today. But he's been great. He's been the Celtics' best player over their last 10 games. If you sort by team, I would bet my house that he's leading the team in points. Okay, cool. Do I just BOS? Sure. He's leading them in points, although he's not too far ahead of Tatum, who I guess the last 10 games is they were blowing teams out. At the start of that, I was surprised to see Tatum shooting split so high, but he's leading them in points. He's the most efficient of him, Jason and Jaylen. Of him, Jason and KP. He's playing great basketball right now, and he deserves the credit because his aggression seems to have been kicked up a notch on both ends, offensively, driving to the hoop a lot, defensively, taking on matchups left and right. So we wanted to talk about it because it's good. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, Jaylen's been really great. I know Greeny put out some great stats today, and you did the last 10, so it's very, very similar to that. But in the last 7 since the All-Star break, he's been even better. He's at 28.3, 6.6, and 3.6 on 55-42 with only 1.4 turnovers. So he's locked in quite a bit since they had that little gap, since everyone started hating on him for the dunk contest. And I think Jaylen brings a very interesting style of play when he's aggressive to this team. Do I think Jaylen is the most under control player on the planet? No. Will the comment section be super excited about Jaylen having the ball in his hands and being asked to create shots? No. They won't be, because they'll remember the Eastern Conference Finals where he wasn't able to keep the ball under control and Miami picked him apart. But if you look at the game against Denver and even last night in Phoenix, he was the initiator for the Celtics. They had nothing going against Denver, largely because Denver did everything they could to make it uncomfortable for Tatum and to make him have to defer. And Jaylen had it a lot easier than he usually would. In Phoenix, Jaylen didn't get off to a great start. He was like 2 of 7 or something. He kept going to the basket, and he just was picking apart on mismatches. Smaller guys, Brad Beal couldn't cover him, or anybody for that matter. And Jaylen took advantage of it and got easy looks. The thing that I really like about Jaylen being the aggressor is that even if he's going to take a high volume of shots, and even if he is going to have to force a little bit, the looks that he's forcing are easier looks than the rest of the team seems to get. He's getting a lot of stuff right at the rim. His touch hasn't always been spectacular. Last night in Phoenix, there were plenty that rolled all the way out. The first play of the game, he got a great drive and just missed it. They missed a lot of bunnies as a team. But if he's able to create those shots, he's putting a lot of pressure on the defense. Layups are imperfect. I know we talked about it yesterday a bit with Joe consistently calling out when they don't shoot layups well because everybody wants to see more layups. But it is a shot that the defense has to adjust to, just like it's a shot that the defense has to adjust to when they're knocking down 40% of their threes. It just gives them another layer of a game that they can go to in a big spot, just like Porzingis does, being a catch and shoot guy or catch and post up guy from the free throw line. And of course, Tatum's shot creation ability shouldn't go unmentioned either. They have so many different ways they can go at teams. And if they learn, and Jaylen learns, to make this the most efficient thing that it could be, it's going to do wonders for them in close games.
Yeah, aggressive Jaylen is good. But aggressive Jaylen is good when the shots are going in. And when, as we saw in the playoffs last year, like aggressive Jaylen isn't good when it's out of control. And he's been a lot better this year, obviously. Like he's been great. The last season, this past season, at playing under control, at making the right play, at passing. out of his drives and not turning the ball over. I think he's at I don't think it's a career low turnover, but I think he's relative to his other high volume years, he's not turning the ball over nearly as much. Yeah, it's the fewest turnovers per game he's had since the 1920 season. So credit to him for
Nice.
that. It's also, I guess, the fewest minutes he's played since then, but still, the point stands. So he's been great at staying under control this year. His assists are up, career high in assists at 3.7 this season, which is also notable and a significant difference. So credit to him for that. It's just the only thing you worry about, and is he going to lose the ball? Is he going to keep his head up? Because I mean, the biggest one that I note was a game where Tatum was out. It was the Pacers game where it was the controversial foul call, and he just had like a player butt naked, wide open on the other side of the court. Like those are
Sure
the
did.
plays. Those are the plays Tatum makes versus the plays Brown makes, and everyone's going to say, "Well, Tatum misses his jumpers too." Yeah, but
So does
you cut off
Jaylen.
yeah, and they also cut off the passing lanes on Tatum, where they just kind of Pacers in that scenario, I guess, at the very niche one. Maybe that's just the Pacers having a bad defense, but he was wide open. So there's just a difference, and I think it is balanced, and I think the reason you've seen more aggressive Jaylen the past couple of games is because Tatum has been bad, which is good. You want him stepping up when Tatum is out. But I think there's also a reason why aggressive Jaylen, I don't want to say starts and ends, but it's usually aggressive Jaylen happens in the first 2, maybe 3 quarters. And then it
Sure.
is either Tatum or D White or Porzingis or team oriented basketball, which I think you saw more of against the Suns. And I don't know if it's less like I don't think it's that the Celtics don't trust Jaylen Brown in those moments, but I think there is more room for error in the first 3 quarters, which gives him more freedom to drive. And it's been working, and it's been great the last X amount of games. And there are people out there saying that Jaylen should get more shots at the end of games. And sure, I'm not saying he shouldn't. Like I think it's fine, but like he hasn't exactly like made all of his, even though he's taken low volume either. Like nobody's made their shots at the end of these
He
games.
missed both of them this year for what it's
So
worth.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good thing overall, and it definitely needs to be integrated within the system. But I don't know if I'm necessarily at the point where I'm like bring aggressive Jaylen out in the 4th quarter of a close game yet. I don't know if I'm there.
It's weird, and this is a very strange comparison, but when he was going to the basket against Denver, it was like watching people are not going to like this. It was like watching LeBron play when he was strong enough to just go through everybody and get any look he wanted inside. That's what Jaylen was doing to the Nuggets. The difference is Jaylen didn't have the entire focus of the other team on him when he was doing that in Denver. But nonetheless, the looks he was getting were very controlled. They weren't sloppy. I'm not even sure how difficult they were because of how strong he is. He's used his muscles, he's used all the weight he's put on to just push guys out of the way, get himself the clean look at the rim, which isn't always the case when he goes inside because Jack, you've said this plenty of times. There are times he goes inside for a layup and it's not really a good shot. And that's true. There are plenty of times when that's true. But this version of Jaylen that we've gotten an extra look at this week has been a bit different than the normal Jaylen, the first quarter Jaylen. Like first quarter Jaylen, a lot of shot creation, a lot of threes, a lot of mid-range step backs, which are all shots he can make. But seeing him kind of get inside and just bull his way to the basket isn't typically what we see from him. And I think that's why everyone's starting to notice, like, oh my gosh, why does Jaylen look so different? And the numbers definitely back it up. Of course, like when he's shooting over 50% from the field and the threes are all falling at like 42%, it's a lot more fun to be like, this guy rules. And that play right there, if you want to replay it, is a great example of, hey, maybe it's not always the greatest thing for Jaylen to go inside because he does get a little bit too carefree and try and go out of control. And when you go to the basket like this, there is the, hey, I think I should get a foul call wrinkle to it, which makes it sometimes not the best thing if that's all you're focused on. Also, Jaylen, I'm not sure he's allowed to complain about not getting to the free throw line right now.
Yeah. And I think it's a fine line because when he's making them, everyone's going to be all for aggressive Jaylen, and they're going to be, yes, this is exactly what the Celtics need, and yell at everybody for not doing it more. But when he misses them or he does it a couple of times, everyone's going to be like, he doesn't deserve his contract. There's no middle ground, which is, I think, why I get frustrated. But I do think there should be. And I think you want him to be aggressive. We're going to watch the same play 3 times because it was a bunch of offensive rebounds. I think there is a middle ground, and I think him being aggressive is almost always a good thing. But like you said, you can see the difference between when Tatum touched the ball and when he touched the ball in this scenario. Like, look at him. He's going through the chest of Peyton Watson here, right? And Jamal Murray's covering the dunker spot. This is pretty bad defense by Jaylen Murray, Jamal Murray and Peyton Watson. Like, you're not going to help that at all. You're that concerned about a floater from Xavier Tillman when Jaylen Brown has been red hot all game. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a difference. Meanwhile, Tatum touches the ball and they doubled him every time. That was Denver's goal. Like, Tatum is not beating us, and they were okay with Jaylen Brown scoring a bunch of points. And to their credit, I guess it worked out, right? Not that Jaylen had a bad game. He was the only reason they were in the game, but they lost, right? The Nuggets won. And so to that length, the Nuggets game plan worked. And I think part of it is potentially that would have been a sick dunk if you put that down. Part of it is potentially that like Jaylen Brown is going to get his buckets, but he doesn't as consistently get his teammates open, or not as consistently as Tatum does. And also another point here, and it's not like to take away from his performance. I think it amplifies the importance of what he does. Jaylen Brown gets a lot of his points in transition,
Which is
I
good.
think 100%. I wrote about it earlier this season. Like, him taking on that role is sort of his way to still get his buckets in an offense that doesn't always feature him as heavily in the half court anymore. And so by amplifying that part of his game, he's able to still score the points that he is used to putting up. Like, look at this, another transition bucket for Jaylen. Great pass by Tatum.
Yep.
So what the fuck was that? So I don't know how many is that, but that's at least like 12 of his points in transition so far, which is a good thing. Here's another one, right? Celtics starting to run, getting out, running, easy midi. Hopefully this goes in, or I'll be sad. Yeah, easy midi. Like, even when he's not getting the basket, like, I would bet over half of his points came in transition this game, which is a good thing. Because that's an area where the Celtics always need to be good, because it's another area where they can excel. But I don't think it's because how many bucket shots did he take in the fourth quarter? I'd be curious to see. That was a tough finish. That was one of the
You
few
want me
where
to look?
they did send two buddies. No, we'll see in a second because this is all of his shots. So I mean, we'll just count as the video goes on.
Okay, sure.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's a tournament season or the fight for a playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play, and I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
But I think having an aggressive Jaylen, I didn't love this shot.
Bad shot.
Having an aggressive Jaylen is a good thing overall. It just, I don't know if it should be the end all be all in the fourth quarter necessarily, which is fine, obviously. Also, maybe you slow that down. Like this shit, I don't get to go back. Like, these are the plays where you play couch GM and say, well, you had a 3v2 in transition. Could you have gotten a better bucket? Like, maybe this is this play where you're like, oh, maybe aggressive Jaylen isn't the best thing, even though like, is there a nitpick here? Would you rather him take this versus kick it out?
He's going up on Murray. I don't think that's
Yeah.
a foul. Murray straight up. He still got like a pretty good look. I think he was kind of focused on trying to get fouled here. I think Holiday is a good option going to the corner at 64%.
Even Pritchard. I mean, Pritchard could have gotten to the corner. Or he's shooting 40% from three. Like I said, those are the nitpick ones that are like, you take it or whatever. Take it or leave it. But Jaylen ended up getting, that's a fine shot. I don't know if he made it. He did. He ended up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots in the fourth quarter, but shot 2 for 7. So, like,
not great.
The half
in
court
fairness
is
to
just not where he
Jaylen, 2 of
thrives.
them were bombs at the end. 2 of 5 still is not
Sure,
good.
2 of 5 is not great, but still fine. That was a goaltend, by the way, so it should have been 3 of 5.
Yeah.
This was.
We're slowly realizing Jaylen did a better job than we thought.
This was the clearest goaltend you'll ever see,
Yes.
and they just missed it.
Horrible.
Which whatever, it didn't affect change the game, but
Jaylen's
Jaylen's best
there anyway.
Jaylen's best in transition. as you see here. And I don't think there are as many transition opportunities readily available in the fourth because it slows down. So I think that's also a part of it. And then in the Suns game, he shot 10 of 21 as well. So he had a solid game in that one, which we can take a look at. But I think overall, like aggressive Jalen is a good thing, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is capable of being the end all be all of the Celtics offense. The more I watched, that was a tough one. The more I watch this, the more I'm realizing like this man just dominates transition. And while that doesn't mean he's not having a good game, I think that is the biggest reason why it's not always going to be like I think that's the biggest reason why it can't be the oh, just do this at the end of every game. That's easy because that you just don't get those chances in the fourth quarter.
I'm not really trying to say do it at the end of every single game.
I wasn't trying to attack you in that. I'm just saying for the general like thought process. I wasn't
The
trying
real
to
takeaway from this should be, hey, I think Jalen, whatever he's done to his play style lately has worked. We've seen a lot more of him putting his back to the basket and just taking advantage of guys that he doesn't think are as strong as him.
yeah.
Even these misses, they're rolling off the rim, but like pretty clean look. Not this one. Pretty clean look before this possession, though. Like he got to the left, he had his hand right at the cup. Like it was a fine take. He got the defender out of the way. I don't know what has gotten into him with his offensive mindset, but it has ruled. I
Yeah.
don't want to see, like, I don't really know if we need to see as many, like, look how sick this dribble is moves from Jalen. And instead, look how strong I am. Get out of my way. Easy layup. Like, they could use him in a similar way that they use Holiday and they put him down low at times and just take advantage of guys that aren't big enough to cover him. Like
Yeah.
he's just been really making quick decisions. It's good to see the turnovers down because even though he has taken on a larger responsibility this week
That was a
specifically,
great play.
he's not giving the ball away, which is a big
Like
concern for a lot of people when it comes to him.
mhm.
They're like, well, should he really have all this responsibility? Like he's just getting bully buckets in these games.
That's the example you're looking for. This is the example of how they can use Jalen late in the game right here. Spread out the floor, give him space, and then I mean he's got to have his head up usually late in the game because I feel like O'Neal would be quicker
Somebody
to
will come
double.
help.
Yeah, somebody late in the game will come to double this sooner, but he just got to the lane like so quickly.
Like those are
Those
the
are the
kind of looks that
buckets.
you would see late in the game and be like, okay, like I think we are gonna watch them win. Like
I
I think
agree,
they
but
have it under control.
I also think like if you want an example of what could also happen late in the game, you watch this play and you're like, all right, like you can't really afford this type of thing happening with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Because this is the pressure
And
he's gonna see. This is the pressure you're gonna see. And I don't want this to come across like I don't want the ball in Jalen's hand. Like I do think they should need to spread the ball around more in the final 2 minutes. It shouldn't just be Tatum, do whatever you want, right? They need to get it to Derek White running pick and roll. They need to get it to Jalen Brown in the low block. They need to get it to Drew Holiday. They need to get it to KP at the free throw line. They need and
yeah,
Tatum needs to
it's a
get the ball
point.
in spots where he can make plays too, driving past bigs or running the floor from the elbow. Like I think those are all important things. However, I think the difference between the play we just watched, where Tatum got a free, barrel through the chest bucket against, I don't know who it was. I think it was Saban Lee, maybe,
Beal, little
or
boy.
Beal, sure. Like the difference between that and this play we're about to watch is this is the pressure you're going to see at the end of games. Like the big or whoever's in the middle is not going to let Jalen just take a one-on-one against a weaker defender with 20 seconds left in the fourth, right? They're going to double, they're going to change over. And I guess if you want to defend Jalen here, which is fair, like there isn't good spacing. Like this is bad spacing
Yeah,
for the Celtics. They didn't space out enough. There needs to be somebody in this corner, and there needs to be somebody waiting up in the dunker spot or somewhere in the paint here so he can either dump it off or kick it out so David Roddy can't cover both guys. But like if this happens late in the game, then that's a free transition opportunity for the Suns if Horford doesn't get that rebound. Like that's a problem, right? But
sure
then
is.
I mean, if you're getting that against Beal late in the game, that's great. I just don't know if you're necessarily going to get those 1v1s as easily as you do in the second quarter. And I'm not saying Jaylen Brown shouldn't go for them. He absolutely should. I mean, that's a huge, easy source of offense. And the fact that his 3-point shot has been better lately too is huge. So I do think there is a balance, and I think it needs to live somewhere between. There needs to be more Jalen, but it can't be all Jalen. Like I don't think the solution is take the ball completely out of Jason Tatum's hands and give it to Jaylen Brown. I think it is spread it around.
For sure. And to your point about the one that was kind of bad, nobody was spaced out, right? But there was also 19 seconds left on the shot clock. So he didn't really give anybody a lot of time to get set up offensively. I'm not saying stand around forever, But that was one, like, maybe you don't need to go super fast. The team isn't set. You didn't really have an advantage. Nurkic was waiting for you down low. That's a situation where you're right. He doesn't necessarily read everything perfectly just yet. He could be much better at that.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's the type of look he could get at the end of the game. And to his credit, he just fucking made a shot between 6 guys, which is huge.
He was between them, but like he had the advantage. Like I don't think anybody jumped with him. Like it
I
was
thought
like
that shot was going in.
he caught them. Yeah, that was a tough roll for him. But he caught them kind of sleeping. He did a good
did.
job of taking advantage of them being flat-footed.
I think more driving kicks are huge, and there was the driving kick that happened in that game where it ended in a Jaylen 3 that I think was a credit to the progression Jaylen has made this season. I'll find it, and these are the plays you need him to make if you want him to have the ball more at the end of games. Because obviously this was like relative to some of the other shots he was or the other drives he was doing, like this was a pretty easy read, I suppose. However, it is a good read nonetheless, and he should get credit for it. If I can find where it was in transition here. So I think this is it. He drives, he finds the open guy in the corner, and then the ball finds him back. Like that's the easiest thing you can do. And it's because the Celtics spaced out well in transition. I mean, also because the Suns just got lost. The Suns were also just no man's land. And I don't think the reads will be that easy at the end of games. Not that Tatum's been perfect at making those either at the end of games, but I do think he is better at Jaylen in those spots. So you need a balance. You need Jaylen to continue to prove in that area. And from there, like, you spread the ball out. But credit to Jaylen for his aggressive mindset, especially while Tatum has been struggling a little bit here. Any other thoughts? Anything?
I think soon we should do a Derek White at the end of games thing.
If he gets the ball, if he ever touches it, we need
Well,
film.
it could be like, what's the benefits to him? We don't have to get into it right this second, but I think it's another. I do like the what is the benefit to this guy having responsibilities at the end of the game, because they have enough guys where they could share it. It doesn't have to all be one of them.
Let us know what you guys think of Jaylen's play lately. I think the aggressiveness is a good thing. It just needs to be put in the right spots. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel like Jack just mentioned. If you do, you'll gonna get our pods. My goodness. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. We had one come out yesterday. Go check it out if you haven't. You can also find us live here on the channel at 11 a.m. on Monday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. on Friday for Talkin' C's. So it is Monday. So come hang out with Jack and I. We're going to be joined by Bobby Kravitsky of SI Media, and those shows are always a blast. You can find us on Spotify and Apple as well for the audio pods and game recaps right to your inbox. You can email us, speaking of inboxes, hbtcpod@gmail.com. I'm sure you've got something to say there, so send it our way as we record our pod later today, which is Monday. We'll go through, we'll read what you had to say about the weekend of hoops. You can also find us on socials at How About Them C's, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook is just the name of the podcast. Our streams are there and on YouTube and also on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jackson1NBA. Mine is at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.